So, Calvary Chapel 14:6 has grown a lot, and not just a little bit. I mean, it has grown so much this year. There's been so much that's happened in 2024. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Nathan Marks. I'm the social media pastor in training, and this is the 2024 recap for Calvary Chapel 14:6. So this year we had a lot happen, a lot of change and a lot of growth. And there was a lot of things that happened behind the scenes. One of the things that happened behind the scenes is we had a lot of growth when it comes to our staff and our staff personnel. And not only that, but we had a lot of people, new pastors and new ministry leaders come up this year. So a good example is our leader over our life groups. His name is Tom. He was with us throughout this year, and he's been doing a lot of things when it comes to our life groups, which is one of our most important ministries at Calvary Chapel 14:6. And if you don't know what a life group is a small group at Calvary Chapel 14:6 that is hosted at a home. So they discuss and do basically a Bible study together about various things and various topics throughout the week. And it's meant to apply what we have been teaching on the weekends. So people will come to the weekends, they'll get their fill from Pastor Pat and his message, and then they'll take that stuff, his keys, his questions, and they'll use that as notes and so on and so forth for Bible studies throughout the week that are held at people's homes from members at our church. And this ministry is huge. We have over 300 people in this ministry, and there's over 30 different life groups. I happen to be a part of a life group, and it's really, really cool. So at the beginning of this year, there was a lot of emphasis on growing life groups, and not only growing life groups, but growing some of our newest ministries that have been added to what we're doing here at Calvary Chapel 14:6, including the ministry you're currently watching on, the social media ministry, which has been a huge growth in Calvary Chapel 14:6 this year. And I happen to be the leader of that ministry, and it's super exciting to see the growth in that ministry. But there's been a lot of growth in other ministries, and life groups was one of the ones that was really taking off in the beginning of this year, as well as throughout this year. And Tom, our director, has been doing such a great job over life groups. He and his team have been doing so well with that. So if you're not in a life group, check out our website to look at the life groups there. Now, as for other ministries that started growing at the beginning of this year, we had the social media ministry, which had literally started posting in January, February of 2024. And things started off small with that ministry, but then it slowly grew into what it is today. And that ministry has had a lot of growth. Another thing that's grown a lot this year has been the Connections ministry, which is manned by Pastor Daniel, and the worship and weekend ministries and children's ministry. Children's ministry has grown a lot this year. There's been an increase in kids coming to the children's ministry, and all of this stuff was happening at the beginning of 2024 and slowly ramping up towards Easter. Now, Easter this year was a massive success, like not just a small success, it was a huge success. We had 7 services this year, 7. And it was packed, literally packed. We had 2,400 people come to this church during Easter, which was incredible. And God gets the glory for that. So this year we were going through the book of Isaiah. And the book of Isaiah was being preached by Pastor Pat, his study on the book of Isaiah, which was really powerful and really impactful. And we finished the book of Isaiah this year and started on the book of Luke. And we are continuing the weekend study through the book of Luke, the Gospel of Luke, and we're going to continue that into 2025. But Isaiah had so many cool things. There were a lot of people throughout this year that were telling our team and telling the social media team, Pastor Pat, the other pastors, of how much they were getting out of the Isaiah series. And there was so much to unpack in that series. And it was honestly amazing how the Lord was leading Pastor Pat's sermons throughout this year in the book of Isaiah. So as usual, we finished Easter, things were going well, but behind the scenes, the whole time, during this time, during the spring, Pastor Pat, Pastor Steve, and a small group of people were working on the land. Now, this is what's fascinating about this story, is that there was a lot that went behind the scenes to this story. So Pastor Pat in the previous years and the other pastors in the previous years, we've been looking for a new building for a while, at least 2 years. I think it was longer than 2 years. And we found a few places that could have worked, that we thought God would open a door, but the door ended up closing. A good example was the Kohl's building that we tried going for in Surprise, and that was a really cool opportunity, but that door shut. That opportunity wasn't open to us. So what was happening behind the scenes was very, very straightforward. God was opening up doors with the land behind the scenes, and it was doing really, really well. And God just opened up the door, and a land that's worth $7 million, God gave it to us for 1.5. And if you want to know the full story, there is a video in the link in the description of this video. It's Pastor Pat's take on the story, and he explains the full story in detail. And you can watch that video. You can also find it in the playlist, How to Build a Church Campus, which is our series of us building on this land. And yeah, you can definitely go check that out. I would recommend watching that video because it explains it in detail. But that being said, we announced it to the congregation. Things were going really well. The land's been completely paid off, so we don't own anything on it. And we've started raising money for that land project and for the new building. And it's honestly really exciting to see how God is just moving on people's hearts. So now, as time has gone on towards the end of the year, now we're at the end of the year, but towards the fall, winter time, the Lord was really pressing on our hearts to do some special events, especially snow days, which was a huge success this year, and working on Easter, which Pastor Pat and Pastor Steve announced that with another announcement video. That one was super duper exciting. And throughout the fall, we've been not only raising money for the new building, but creating plans for the new building. So that includes beginning to work on designs for it, beginning to follow the Lord's lead on plans for the new building, and so on and so forth, figuring out ways on which we can show you guys more of what we're doing on the land in 2025, and prepping for the vision and execution of what we're going to be doing ministry-wise in 2025, which is really exciting. Pastor Pat's going to be expressing that here in the near future, and it's going to be really, really cool in the beginning of 2025. We ended the Isaiah series during the fall of this year, started the Luke series. The social media ministry just blew up this fall. End of summer, fall time period, this ministry, which you're watching this video on, has grown exponentially. We've reached over 7.3 million people for Jesus on the internet, and invited so many people to Fourteensix, and not only Fourteensix, but invited people to draw closer in their walk with the Lord, invited people to come to know Jesus on a deeper level on the internet. And it's really cool to get to be a part of that ministry and see that growth. And that's been a huge, amazing thing. And on top of that, life groups have, in the fall, done a lot of really cool things outreach-wise. They helped with Surprise Cares, who has been a massive, important ministry in this church in outreach and other outreach ministries throughout this church. Out of all the amazing things that has happened this year, the most amazing thing is the fact that God not only gets the glory for what God is doing at this church, but for the fact that God is moving and growing people in a powerful, mighty way at this church. We've not only grown as a whole, but ministries have grown. And not only have they grown, but they've grown deeper in their walks with the Lord. They've strived towards the vision and the goal of Fourteensix. Things are just growing in a powerful and amazing way at this church, and God gets the glory for it. I can't express that enough. God gets the glory. We're so grateful that you get to be a part of this church. We're so grateful that you get to be a part of this journey and this story. And we're so glad we get to talk to you guys about it, that we get to express what's going on at this church. And I'm honestly super excited to see what God's going to do in 2025. So there you have it. There's the recap of 2024. And we're so excited to have you guys get to be a part of this in 2025. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.